Okay. Well, welcome to our test. Are we good now? Okay. Welcome to our regularly scheduled meeting. It is April 10th, 2012. At this time, I will call the meeting to order, and if you would all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, at this time I will ask, are there any additions, corrections, modifications, or substitutions to the current agenda? And I believe there are. Lori? Can you read those changes, please?
We have one modification, and that is in addition to tonight's consent agenda as follows. Item 9, consent agenda, and this would be item E, approval for up to 12-week family leave, and this is for Lydia Flynn, dual immersion teacher, Hemingway Elementary School.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept that amended item?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. Passed by unanimous vote. Onward. Item 4, we have 2 accolades tonight, and I'm going to let Dr. Barber read those, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I start, I just want to say, Mr. Chairman, that in my job, it's an interesting job because I have a little bit of a lot of different things going on. But I will tell you, 2 of the most enjoyable things and enjoyable parts of my job happened today. And one of them was a visit to one of our schools, the middle school this afternoon. And I will tell you, the best days I have are the visits to our schools because I really get a chance to see what's going on in the classroom, great things. Today was especially fun for me. I try to visit a different wing at the middle school each time I visit there. And today I was in the 6th grade wing. I actually walked into one of my daughter's classrooms, and so that was fun. And the other thing that is I feel fortunate to be able to do is to read the accolades about our great teachers. So today I get a double dose of that, and I hope it holds me for a few days.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. The first, I think both of the teachers are here today, and we're fortunate to have them here. They're great teachers that deserve every accolade they'd ever get. So I'm going to start with this one. Dear Dr. Barber, my son, Thomas Moel, is a senior at Wood River High School. For the last 3 years, he has been a student in Jamie Ellison's special needs class. I just wanted to take a moment and let you know how much Mr. Ellison has done for my son. My son's progress the last 3 years has been amazing. Jamie's energy and his passion for teaching have benefited Thomas in so many ways. His social skills, his self-confidence, and his happiness have bloomed under Jamie's guidance. Jamie has made sure that Thomas has been given every resource available to him. My son wakes up every morning eager to go to school and has been on the honor roll every semester. Jamie is now doing everything he can to make sure Thomas is ready for life after he graduates in June. Thomas has been working at Napa Auto Parts in a vocational program Jamie has implemented. I could go on and on about how happy I am that Mr. Ellison has been Thomas's teacher since we moved to the Valley 3 years ago. We are very lucky to have such a great teacher in Jamie Ellison at Wood River High School. Thank you, Robert Buck. And I will just add on, before we recognize Jamie, who's here tonight, this isn't, any of the parents of Jamie's students could have written this. Jamie is amazing, I guess I always want to put the right people on the right seat on the right bus. And Jamie, I think you're in the right seat for us at least. So I want to thank you more than you'll ever know. And I think this accolade is is so well deserved. Thank you. Anything?
Yeah.
His wife Casey is right next to him also, so thanks for being here, Casey.
Right there, will you stand up, bud?
There we go.
And my wife, Casey. Thomas, I think really we need to call him Mr. T. He's my bright spot every day. I mean, every student is, but he's the box that I pictured when I got into education. And I feel like I need to stand up front. The teacher and me, I'm sorry. Well, I guess first, thank you for this opportunity. I couldn't do it without the support of first my staff. Jennifer is my parapro, and she takes on the job of 5 people. And I've got cutbacks, and I understand it, and she stepped up to the plate, and she should make my salary. She does an amazing job, and I can't do it without her. And that goes all the way to my administration directly, to Debbie, and all of you. The education that we provide here for all students, not only special ed students, is amazing, and we're all blessed to have our kids here. Mr. T is autistic. He's a bigger guy. He's got a smile on his face every day, and you wish you could be as happy as he is. And I love to see him every day, and when he walks in the door, I know why I'm doing it. Most of my students are the same way. He embraces everything with his head up, and some people, you know, a lot of people do feel like they wish they could have his attitude towards life, and the little things don't get him down. So it's an amazing thing to watch him blossom into an adult that I know is going to be functioning in society as independent as possible, and a genuine member that's valued. And that is something that this district has. And there's some districts that push off in what I do, and you're going on this track, and you don't worry about it, it's a special ed kid. And I'm not talking a kid with LD and a little learning problem. I'm talking about a kid who has severe needs and is always going to somehow be reaching out to the system. And we have a system here that acknowledges him and praises him, and that's displayed through what we give to what I do. And so I couldn't do it without you. And I'm so proud of Thomas and my seniors, Thomas and Tad and Carl Sluter. Tad, I don't know if some of you have seen, he presented, and I'm going to go back to, we're talking the most restrictive environment that we offer. And our goal is to be the least restrictive environment, and we're always going to have kids that fit into a more restrictive environment. And this kid's gone out and had the microphone and Mr. Luna's direct attention for 1 hour straight. And every special ed director in the whole state of Idaho sat and listened to one of our students present something that when I saw him walk in the door, I was like, no way. Head down, couldn't look up, wouldn't communicate, and now he's presenting. Right now I'm freaking out. And he was up there throwing jokes. I'm going to be on Oprah. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see this film, it will change your life. Please email me. I will give you a copy. And he did a documentary film about Marley Chapman, who's at Bellevue Elementary now, and her experience through school. And he took it all the way to the top. And that's what we can do with the supports that we have. So I appreciate and I thank all of you for not counting out the underdog, because in this case, the underdog, regardless of scores or where he's going or who he is or what classes he's taken, got the attention of the top dog. So I can't be more proud. Thomas was there to support his peer. Nathan was there to support his peer. I couldn't ask for a real life experience. I couldn't script it. They all had a part, and everybody was there, including Miss Goodnick, who was the proudest mama bear ever. And anyway, so I thank you, and I appreciate this accolade, and I really wish I could give this to the people I work with directly, and specifically Jennifer. she really deserves to be standing right here. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more.
Can I add something to that?
Please.
So thanks so much, Mr. Allison. You know, I want to, our district, we educate and care about every child enrolled into our system. And I also want to give a shout out to our student body for being so tolerant and welcoming. You know, that's the environment or the makeup that I see at all of our schools, is that our students work very well with our special needs
Well,
kids.
without the peer involvement and the peer direction, and these guys right here are amazing examples. That is the they look up to and see and aren't afraid and take that step forward because of kids like this that are out there saying, "Come on in." And I agree. I've worked in places where it was not the same, and it's amazing to watch these kids develop throughout school and come into the high school where we are one.
Yeah. It says a lot for our community, and it says a lot for our students.
It does.
So, again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Jamie. I'm going to add two very quick things. First of all, we're very fortunate because I will tell you who's an equally wonderful and amazing teacher is Jamie's wife, Casey, who teaches kindergarten at Woodside. And I was just in her classroom a few weeks ago, a marvelous teacher. So we're fortunate that they made their home here. And then I just have to tell you one thing. I had met Jamie a couple times, didn't know him real well, knew about him, knew he was a hockey player and some different things. And I was in the school, I think the year before last, just visiting the school, and I was walking down the hall, and around the corner, Jamie came, and I think it was homecoming, or it was some special event, and he had a pink tutu on with leotards. And I knew at that point in time that, Jamie was something special.
That was my first experience with Dr. Barber, and I'm like, I'm wearing a tutu.
It was great. That's pretty special to go in to school, be able to do something like that in fun with the kids. So anyway, thank you very much.
Check that out. I have it in my office.
We do have that's done so many great things for our students. This accolade says, "Dear Pete, Mr. Jurovich, Lonnie, and John, at Wood River High School, we were lucky enough to have a drop-in visitor from the University of Idaho, Dr. Phil Mead. He was visiting the Wood River Valley because his architecture students are researching the Ketchum-Sun Valley area, and as of next year, he will be the recruiter for the Arts and Architecture Department at the University of Idaho. Dr. Mead was gracious enough, I will add, that's a great department. I spent some time in that department. Dr. Mead was gracious enough to spend a bit of his vacation time at Wood River High School. After visiting two of Kevin Lupton's classes, he spent time in the counseling office with us discussing programs at the University of Idaho. In addition to his enthusiasm for the impact architecture has on our health and environment, I was most impressed with Dr. Mead's praise of Kevin Lupton and thought you might be interested in hearing about it. According to Dr. Mead, Kevin's students are consistently the best prepared students in the state. Where is Kevin? In the state when entering the architecture department at University of Idaho. He went on to use examples of architecture graduates from Wood River High School, including Amanda Engel, earning master's degrees in architecture. Dr. Mead not only praised our students and their preparation for college, but he went on to praise Kevin's innovative program and finished with the proclamation that the Wood River High School's drafting and engineering technology program is an example for other high school programs as it is unrivaled in the state. In his expanded role as the department recruiter, Dr. Mead is looking forward to working more closely with Wood River High School and the possibility of exposing students and staff to the influence architecture has on our environment, history, and society. I believe Dr. Mead is a wonderful resource for our learning community. We have Kevin Lupton to thank for opening this door. This letter was written by Carla Stewart Donaldson, our college and career counselor, and I know the board is very familiar with Kevin. And yeah, if you remember, his students designed the houses that we're building. you know, and so our building academy, our construction academy, Kevin reached out, and between him and Mike, they extended that to include the design of the houses. He does our robotic team. He's just a phenomenal teacher. We're fortunate. So, Kevin, thank you so much. Anything, you want to say anything, Kevin?
I do appreciate it. Anytime we are recognized for any, the hard work that we do, it's certainly appreciated. I also received a call from the Haley City Hall today, and Mayor Hammerling would like to recognize the robotics team at next week's City Council meeting.
Nice.
So great.
Oh,
That was nice to hear too.
You know, behind Mayor, I just presented to Mayor Hammerly and the City Council last week, and you know, right behind the mayor sits the Wood River High School banner. So, you know, and he did recognize the girls' basketball team. So, thank you, Kevin, for what you're giving kids in this valley. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lonnie. All right, we are now, it is now time that the board would accept public comment. Laurie, have you received any? No? Okay. And out of courtesy, as in case someone missed filling out a card? Nope, no public comment. We'll move right along here. Next on the agenda, always a pleasure to receive our presentations from schools, and tonight we have a presentation from our Wood River High School leadership program. So step forward and have at it.
Well, I'm Sean Sutton. I'm student body president of Wood River High School, and I'm joined today with some of my fellow classmates and representatives. We have Dash Steedham and Nathan Moses, who are our class vice presidents, and Kylie Smith, who is our public relations director. Who does everything else. Yeah. She's number one.
So me and Nathan were asked to create a video for the presentation for the board, and we just wanted to highlight and showcase a small portion of what makes Wood River unique to the rest of the state and the country, everywhere. And it's not everything, so we couldn't get everything, but it's a good portion, and it shows good roots here in the school.
Can we hit some lights from the overrider?
Yeah, we should lights. Yeah, lights might be a good idea.
There are over 20,000 high schools in the country, but what makes Wood River High School unique?
Yeah, we'll start it again.
There are over 20,000 high schools in the country, but what makes Wood River High School unique?
Yep.
To answer that question. There are over 20,000 high schools in the country, but what makes Wood River High School unique? We're here to answer that question.
Hello, I am Ms. Villegas, and I am the advisor to Key Club. Key Club is a community service organization for high school students that they can go and help either the community or the schools or in any way, shape, or form that they're needed.
There's going to be a barn dance this weekend, and we're volunteering for that one.
They have also helped with the snow box derby. They've helped with a senior project, distributing flyers, and they've also helped with a coat drive during the winter, and they've helped with the baskets during the winter as well. So they've helped in various different events.
We did a coat drive this year and gave coats to people in need of coats.
And the Snowbox Derby last weekend.
Winners.
13 and up category.
The high school is the only school that has Key Club. We just recently started. This is the second year it's been running, and there's been a drive to get a lot of new members, and every meeting we have new members coming up, and it's getting larger. And also the other unique thing is that they work with the Kiwanis Club, and the Kiwanis also mentors them, the students in Key Club, in order to help the community or the school in any way that they can.
Hi, I'm Carrie Haugen. I am the co-advisor for NHS. NHS is a national organization. It's called the National Honor Society, and to be a member, students have to have a 3.5 GPA, and then once they're in, we do offer community service opportunities. They have to do 15 in-school hours, 30 out-of-school hours. They come to NHS induction, and we try to do things for the community as well as for our national organization. We just recently had our NHS induction, where we inducted 40 new members into NHS, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Our students, we serve lunch. We help with parent-teacher conferences, with freshman-only day registration for in-school, and then out-of-school students do a myriad of things, such as going to the animal shelter and walking dogs, helping with the middle school's environmental camp, helping out at the Haley Public Library, anything that they do in the community.
I am Marie Wolfram, and I teach AP Government here at the high school as well as World History, and I've been doing that for about 8 years. AP classes provide students with a college-level curriculum, and they are actually audited by AP Central, which means that teachers have to submit their syllabus to a college professor for approval. So we've gone through the process, and we know that they're college-level classes, so they provide a rigorous, unique experience for our students.
I'm Larry Barnes. I teach biology at Wood River High School. I have been doing so for 17 years. This is Boris. I just teach one class of AP Biology. This is only the second time I've done it. 2 years ago, I taught it for the first time. I didn't teach it last year. Next year, it remains to be seen if it's taught, if enough people sign up. But I also teach general biology and wildlife biology and zoology, and have formerly taught genetics. And
students in AP courses in general, but particularly in mine and in U.S. history, have to write a lot more, and these are timed essay writes, often like people will remember who have been to college, the Blue Book exams, where you had to actually sit and write for a certain amount of time on a particular subject. So we do those. Those are called free responses. And then the multiple choice portion of the exam is also a timed portion of the exam. In my test, the kids actually have to answer 60 questions in 45 minutes. And so we practice tests exactly like that. And we do lots of free responses, but then we talk about those things so that we can understand what strategies work and what strategies don't. We talk about current events. All that stuff helps build those skills.
I'm Miss Spindler, and I teach Student Union here at Wood River High School. So Student Union is a 0-hour class open to freshmen through seniors, and we meet 0 hour and plan and implement different sorts of activities, events, and community service for high school students. We start out every year with Homecoming, our week-long celebration that includes the traditional parade, pep assembly, dress-up days, and our dance. This year we've been working with the Hunger Coalition. We did Coins for Kids and collected $1,200. We are working currently with the Blaine County Senior Center for a senior citizen dance. We plan junior prom, winter formal, spring and fall, pep assemblies, sports recognition, the Red Cross blood drives. I think this is a good learning experience for students. They can take the class and make the most of it. So as much as they want to do, they can. We just attended the IASC Boise Leadership Conference, where students got to idea exchange and learn about other student councils all over the state of Idaho. The idea is that they bring that back to class and learn different skills about leadership, implementing ideas, follow through, and mentoring some of the younger students to get out there and get involved.
I'm Erica Greenberg, and I'm the advisor for the water club at the high school. I think what makes the club unique is the amount of involvement from the students and how determined they are to see change. They can see the progression of the environmental impact that a lot of our choices make. And I think there's a lot of schools that do really good projects and are really involved, but don't necessarily have kids that take such an initiative to change it.
One of our main goals is to educate the people in our community about the environment as well as our school, so it helps us reach out to our community to help make a difference and make a positive change in our environment.
We've worked for the last couple years with the city council and doing the Just Bag It campaign, where they hand out reusable bags in the grocery stores. And then from there, students wanted to get more involved and decided they wanted to change some things locally in the school. And they worked with Mike Chatterton and Dwayne Sorensen to change the plates in the lunchrooms from styrofoam to bioplastic. And then from there, decided that they wanted to get more involved in the community as well and see some change there. So students got involved in local government and learned how to present to city council members, draft a ordinance with the Haley City Attorney, and they were able to get an initiative on the ballot and learn kind of how local politics work.
The bag ban was a really great experience, not just in the fact that we were really trying to show the people that we are the younger generation, even though we're just a bunch of teenagers in the eyes of a lot of the community members. We really wanted to make a positive difference in our community and to take responsibility for what we do consume. So even though the bag ban didn't pass, it was a really, really great learning experience for all of us, and I think opened our eyes to how we can make a change in our community if we, take the initiative to go out there and do it.
Hi, my name is Adam Porth. About 12 years ago, I noticed some students were playing chess in the hallway during lunchtime. The bell rang, and as the students flooded into the hall, I noticed that their game was kicked over, and I've noticed this a couple different times. And so I asked those students if they wanted a place to play chess, and my room became the before school, lunchroom, after school place to play chess. At this point, we formed a chess club that is running strong today. We average about anywhere from 30 to 40 members each year at this point. When I first began, there were only 8. Why chess in the first place? Chess is it actually exercises the areas of the brain that we are striving to exercise here at the school. It was a surprise to me back in 2006 to find out that chess is actually a national sport, and there are national tournaments and national titles that students could earn, and also state tournaments and state titles. And so I introduced my players to tournament chess back in 2006, and we've been attending tournaments down in Salt Lake City, Boise, Twin Falls, and this past year we went to a national tournament in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Pete Jervich. I'm the principal at Wood River High School. I'm here today to talk about the International Baccalaureate Program. Wood River is currently in a candidate status with the International Baccalaureate Organization. We are working collaboratively with the middle school to make sure that the IB Middle Years program, which is a grade 6 through 10 program, is a seamless transition for our students. So IB, the learner profile, students are balanced. They're risk takers. They're open-minded. They're knowledgeable. They are principled, reflective. So as we move into the 21st century, one of the things that we want to make sure that we're able to do is prepare students for a global world. We're no longer just competing, or our students are no longer just competing against other students in the state of Idaho or in the northwest part of the U.S., but we realize that our students are competing against students from India, from China, from France, from Russia, from South America, Central America countries, England. All of those countries are producing the best and brightest students that they possibly can, and IB is going to allow us to hopefully foster the students and raise their capacity and their potential to their fullest. You know, one aspect of 21st century learning is project-based learning, and making sure that students are able to show multiple ways of whether or not they've learned a concept or learned an idea. So on April 26th, our school is having its Academic and Citizenship Awards Assembly, and this year, for the first time, we've actually used the IB lens in terms of recognizing and finding those students in our school that are principled, that are caring, that are open-minded, that are risk takers. So I hope and I believe that this assembly is going to be impactful, exciting, and I invite each and every one of the school board members, and I know that 3 of them are parents right now of students who are in the high school and may actually receive an invitation to attend as a parent, but I invite all of them, along with the superintendent and assistant superintendent and other district office personnel, to come to the assembly on April 26th. That will be in the morning, approximately 10 o'clock. So thank you, and have a great day.
So, can we answer any questions?
Are all of you seniors?
Yes.
Hang in there for just a few more weeks.
Well, I have a question. Actually, go ahead.
What happens to kids who, start in NHS as a sophomore and at some point their grades dip below 3.5?
They're dismissed from National Honor Society. They get a formal letter of dismissal.
Okay, and then there's no opportunity to return?
I think you can be on probation for a certain amount of time, and then if you don't get it up within that time, you can.
Yeah, there's a 1 semester probation
Okay.
period.
Okay, thanks.
I just wanted to have a quick follow-up. So, how has your senior, that was very impressive, and you have a lot going on at Wood River High School. I just wanted to ask you, how's your senior year been? Has it been rewarding to you? You're getting ready to go out now, each of you, I suspect, and do something else. So, how's your year been?
At least for me, it's been... Hello? Okay. For me, it's been really eye-opening, going through the system, K through 12. It's kind of been school. You haven't really looked back on it, but now, having to choose a major, where you're going to school, all that, looking back, I've really had a lot of options and a lot of eye-opening experiences to see what I like and don't like, and it's really nice to be able to have that selection that a lot of kids don't. So I think it was really beneficial.
Yeah, I moved up here freshman year, and it's been a great experience. My high school up here, it's been enough fun, but enough school, and it's a beautiful place to live. Be on the snowboard team, so many options, and as he said, opportunities for all different types of scholarships and events and things that come to the school, and it's definitely been a good 4 years, and miss it, but happy to move on.
I have to agree with Sean. I've been in the system since kindergarten, and I will be very, very sad to be leaving. But I'm excited to go out into the world and kind of experience life, and then come home and truly appreciate the Valley for what it is.
And I also have been here from the earliest days of schooling, but this year I thought it was going to be way easier because it's like senior year. Junior year, you get all your grades up, get all that stuff done, but I was completely wrong. And so, right now it's starting to slow down a little bit, but I had a lot of fun. I liked taking classes that I actually wanted to take. I I just had a lot more freedom this senior year, choosing my schedule, and so I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it and learned a lot. So. Yes.
What advice do you have for me?
What advice do you have for these two right here? What advice? Yeah.
Take hard classes.
Yeah.
Get
Good grades.
You'll be so happy you follow
Keep
the
your
senior
options
year. Yeah, it definitely is nice to keep good grades and do everything you can because it'll just benefit you.
Listen to your parents.
Yeah. Especially when they talk about college, listen to your parents.
Yeah, that's another.
Yes, sitter.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay or you're welcome to leave.
I've got lasagna at home. Thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you guys so much. You're welcome.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, Jamie.
Just a reminder to reset your mics for
Nope? Okay. I don't trust it. Are we good, Tim? All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. And there, to include the amendment. You thought I'd forget? Yeah. Item A is the consideration of minutes, which include the regular board meeting that took place on March 13th, 2012, the special meeting or workshop of the board that took place on April 4th, 2012, and the special meeting work session of the board that took place on April 5th, 2012. Item B, acceptance of monthly financial report, payment of bills. Item C, approval of personnel exiting and entering. Item D, permission to advertise for purchase of buses as per Rex Squires, Transportation Director. And item E, approval for up to 12-week family leave.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes?
would you like me to read the personnel entering and exiting?
Yes, please. Why don't you, Lori?
Okay, classified staff, we have one recommendation for hire, and I hope I get this name correct. Diogenes De Silva, he's a custodian at the community campus. Certified staff exiting, and I will read to you the retirements effective as of 9/1/2012. Fred Trankel, full-time PE teacher at Wood River Middle School. Rudy Bosch, full-time math teacher at Wood River Middle School. Keith Jacobson, full-time social studies teacher, Wood River High School. Linda Anderson, full-time elementary teacher, Haley Elementary School. Paula Collier. I have a friend named Paula Collier, so that's spelled the same way. Paula Collier, full-time elementary teacher, Ernest Hemingway Elementary. Pamela Wells, full-time reading teacher at Ernest Hemingway. Daphne Cobble, full-time English teacher, English as a new language teacher at Hemingway Elementary. Charles Miller, full-time science teacher, Wood River High School. Luann Metzel, full-time elementary teacher, Bellevue Elementary. And Mary Bush, full-time English language arts teacher at Wood River Middle School. We have one other certified staff exiting. Her name is Melissa Jones. She's half-time elementary special education teacher and half-time preschool teacher at Cary School. And one recommendation for hire for certified staff, and that is Shelby Heiberger, full-time library media specialist at Cary School.
Thank you,
That's all.
Laura. Thank you. And just one note is I would like to thank all those teachers that are retiring for their years of service. So at this time, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
I'll make that motion.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Paul. Further discussion?
Do we need
Yeah.
to mention the item D?
You did.
Yep, for buses.
Oh, you did? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Mhm.
Okay. That's it.
The answer is yes.
Thanks, Catherine. Any other discussion? No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the consent agenda is approved by unanimous vote. Moving on. Dr. Barber, the agenda item is listed as superintendent's discussion with the board, and I believe you're going to give us a rundown or a review on AYP. Is that correct?
Kind of.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate this time that the board gives me just to have discussion with the board. We're not looking for action or anything else. But, this month I chose the discussion to be around the state's mandating assessments that our students are all take. The IRI, which is the Idaho Reading Indicator in the primary years, K-3, and of course the ISAT, the Idaho Standards Achievement Test in grades 3 through 10 or beyond. And I also have something I'm going to show you in just a couple of minutes that I hope helps us understand. But the reason I wanted to have this conversation with the board today is because we have entered the Idaho Standards Achievement, the ISAT window for testing. That window is almost a month long, but in fact, because it's computerized, we have kids in and out of computer labs just nonstop. But what I wanted to talk to the board about was how does the ISAT, which is just for I know you know, but for the sake of the audience, the state of Idaho tests our students in 3 different areas. So in reading, which actually when you get to high school is actually not a specific class. I mean, it is reading up to high school. Mathematics and language usage. And the language usage, although it contains, you read and then you comprehend, it's also around grammar and the structure of our language. And, I guess the conversation I want to have with the board is around what that means to us. And especially as, our strategic plan and the direction that the school district is working with our teachers and the administration to move towards, which is 21st century learning. We just saw what the learner profile is, Mr. Jurovich, which, by the way, just a great video. I mean, just really reflective of many things that high school opportunities for students. But, my daughter is in 6th grade, and I've heard from people, the students become anxious about this test. It's a high-stakes test. I was talking 2 weeks ago, I was in one of our schools, just in a classroom, an elementary classroom of one of our, we have so many great teachers, but just a great teacher, and she was feeling anxiety. And, what I want to talk to the board about is this, is although testing those and having a proficiency benchmark that's set by the state is relevant to the education, it should not be, and I hope it is not for the board, I don't believe it is, the North Star for our school district. I think it should be a component of what we do in our school district. But for long before I was here, and as a continuation when I was involved in the strategic plan 4 and 3 years ago, our goals are loftier than just high achievement on those tests. And we want to educate the whole child. That's not new to Blaine County. Certainly the extension of that into 21st century. 21st century learning is just another way of saying we would like to educate the whole child. It really is. I know many around the United States, districts are struggling to pinpoint exactly what is 21st century learning look like. We are doing the same thing with our administration. And the difficult part of it is, we had 150 years of 20th century, I mean, literally, because it was actually established that the Carnegie credit and the kind of the format for learning was actually established in the 1880s. It did not look a lot different throughout the 20th century. Classrooms of teachers, the teacher lecturing, students taking notes, and we really feel like we're moving beyond that. Now, I don't want to downplay that the ISATs are one view of what a good education is, but I do want to talk to the board. It is a limited view. And when we look at the learner profile that Mr. Georgevich just talked about on there, we want risk takers, we want problem solvers, we want students that are civically involved. I mean, there's a lot to it, and we're working hard. We will be IB certified in the middle years program next year sometime. I just want to be able to send a message to our teachers that the kind of education we're giving students as we move into the 21st century, those tests will take care of themselves. And I do know school districts that do set that particular test, and they kind of put all of their eggs in that basket as whether or not they're a good district. And the results of those are very meaningful to them. They may not have the resources that we have. They haven't had the continuation of looking at students in a different way and giving them more and a fuller education. So one of the things I wanted to show the board, and I picked the middle school, and I'm going to go through it quickly, but I'd like to show the board what this time last year, our results on the ISATs were, to help sort of highlight the fact that we are in great shape, and we should not make that test as stressful as it is for our students or our teachers, because our students will perform. I will tell the board this, that if Blaine County there are 3 categories per grade level, except in certain grades we do a science, we do that in 7th grade, so there are 4 categories. But I just want to say, it shouldn't be our goal to be number 1 in every one of those categories. Now, if we are number 1, that's reflective of a great education, but it shouldn't be what we're basing what kids get, because it's very limited, it's not real world, it's very 20th century. And so, Tim, do you have that ready to pull up?
Actually, Lori has the mouse.
Okay. I'm wondering, would the mouse work from here or not, Tim? Sure. Okay. Can I just grab the mouse for just a moment? So I want to show the board that we don't have anything to worry about, but I also want to emphasize, as I just said, that if we are number 1 in every ISAT category, that's not reflective of our students not getting a full and whole child education. So do you have it out, Tim, or do I need to go get it?
If you minimize this document here, I copied it to the desktop for you.
Okay, thank you.
Top in the center.
Here?
Yep.
Okay. So what I did, we do a lot of data work. What we're searching for now is better data. This is hard data. This comes out of standardized testing. So I will tell you that when my administrative team, including all the principals, the directors, when we look at data, this comes from the state. We actually had to write a Freedom of the Information letter to the state a number of years ago to receive data so that we can actually make it relevant to other school districts. Because the data that we get, unless it's relevant to other places, it's not usable or good data. So this is ISAT data. This is from last year. The category, as you will see, is non-LEP in 6th grade. I'm going to show you the data from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And what non-LEP means is this. Every one of our students in the middle school, and that would include Caucasian, Asian, Hispanic, special education, social and economic disadvantage, all students except the students who do not speak the language fluently. And the reason that I pull that category out, as opposed to just using it, is if you look in those columns that say demographics, and if you look to the right, and this surprises a lot of people, but certainly doesn't surprise our administration. Blaine, if you go over there, LEP, 24.2% of our 6th grade students do not speak the language fluently. They're LEP. And if you look right to the right of that, now this data is the 31 biggest school districts in Idaho, which takes the school district down to about 1,000 students. There are 115 districts, and so what I do, for the sake of my data notebook is already about 10 inches thick, I try to compare all of the biggest districts, because below 1,000 they become rural districts and they really don't have the resource, and they're just different. But if you look at that number, we are number one. We have the highest number of students percentage that do not speak the language fluently of anyone in Idaho. So that's a little surprising to some people, but certainly it's not surprising to the people that work in the schools. Now, remember, this is all students except that group of students. But it's also not that group of students in any of the other school districts. So we've pulled that group out from every school district. Now, if you go over to the right, the proficiency index, I want to point out that in grade 6 in reading last year at this time, we had the highest percentage. Now, this is Wood River Middle School and Cary, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. We had, in the state, we had the highest percentage of proficiency, and you can't get much higher than 99.7%. Number one, that's our relative ranking with other school districts. And if you move just to the left of that, two little boxes, you will see the advanced on the test. So there's a proficient benchmark, and then there's an advanced. Blaine County School District was 67.7%, and that is also the highest advanced percentage in the state of Idaho. So what I want to do is I want to move down, and I want to move to 6th grade mathematics. This is our scores from last year in 6th grade mathematics. And if you look at this, 98.4% of all the students except the language students are proficient. We were number one in the state. Again, this is the prior year. 60.5% of our students were in the advanced category. And if you look down here in this column in red, you'll see that there's one school district, one, that had more advanced students than we did. So, that's pretty impressive. I want to move to 6th grade language usage, the third element of the ISAT test. And in our sixth grade, you'll see we were number one in the state of Idaho in the number of students who were proficient or advanced. We had, and the language usage is the most difficult test of the three. I mean, the scores are, the proficiency data is lower than in the other two, so I guess that means it's the toughest test. And if you look down this column, there was only one district that had higher number of kids in the advanced column, but it's a different district than the other ones. I mean, so you'll see that there are some, and that's just what happens when you're looking at 31 districts, but in all three categories in the 6th grade in the ISATs, we were number one. In the 7th grade, this is reading, and if you look at it, we had the highest percentage of proficient and advanced students in the state of Idaho. We had 68.6% advanced, and the impressive thing about 68.6%, just scan down this and look at where other districts are in their advanced kids. And for the most part, there are a couple, that are in the 60s, many in the 50s and the 40s. So to be almost 70% advanced says something about the education that our students are getting. And again, number one in the advanced column in the state of Idaho. Remember the 31 biggest districts. Mathematics in grade 7, we were second in the state with 93.2% proficiency. We had a just under 50% advanced state, and if you look down this, I think there were there are three that had higher proficiency, but this one was less than 1 percentage points, and these were all within 2 or 3 percentage points, and that's the advanced column. In language usage, 7th grade ISAT test, Wood River Middle School and Cary, 6, 7, 8, we were number one in the state of Idaho. We had an advanced 46%, and I think there were two. However, what you have to realize is none of these areas that were higher than us, Moscow had a couple, but they're not consistent. So they're not other school districts time after time with higher percentages. The science in 7th grade, number one. The advanced, 62.6%, which was the highest in Idaho in the advanced category. The reading in the 8th grade, we were number 3 this year. We were number 1 a year ago, and if you look at that, that's the difference between those is probably 1 or 2 kids. In the advanced category, however, that is something that you just won't see. 79% of our students in the 8th grade were advanced, and that was number 1 in the state. In mathematics, in the 8th grade, we were number 1 in the state We had 51% were advanced, and that was number 2 in the state. And in language usage, we were number 1. And then we had 42% of our students were not only proficient but advanced, and that 42% was the highest in the state. Okay, enough data like this. My point is this. Here's my point. We are trying to do something in Blaine County that few school districts are taking on. And that is, we're trying to institutionalize 21st century learning to give our students more real-world experience, project-based learning, and it's more access to technology. How do you use technology? Because our students are moving into the real world quickly. But as you saw tonight, I think you saw tonight, we're proud of who they are. We're proud of where they've gotten to. And the reason I want to say the ISATs will take care of themselves is those scores, which there's no one, no district even close to those scores, are not the result of 3 content areas. They're the result of students starting in this or coming to this district and getting whole child education from great teachers in all areas, being well-rounded. So I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight, and I know my time's about up, to talk to the board. I want to be able to reassure our teachers, don't stress out about it. I want to talk to our students, my own student, yours, we all have students in the system. There could be nothing better for a board and administration than to have skin in the game. And I want to be able to say to my daughter, don't worry about what happens. And if we're second or we're third, so what? Because, they are getting so much more in their education than just what's reflected here. Even as high as those are, this should not be the way that we look at the education our students are getting. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about it. I would stand for any questions or just listen to the discussion that the board has about what I've said tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pretty incredible.
It is.
I would tend to agree. I don't see anywhere, within on the ISET data or the ISET exams, anywhere where they address, choir or, sports or community service opportunities or, many of the other programs that evolve around the whole child, and I know that's where you're coming from.
It is where I'm coming from, and it shortchanges everyone. Now, I'm proud of what our teachers have given our students to prepare for this, but I just want you to know it's not the only thing I'm proud of. I'm more proud of the district and what all of our teachers give the students. And that's why we have these kind of scores. It really is that they're, because so much learning generalizes, right? It's not specific. It's general. And how do you learn and what are you learning? Our music programs in the elementary, our art programs, all of that contributes to who our children are becoming.
Catherine?
Oh, I was just going to say, I appreciate having this discussion as well, and I do feel if we continue on with project-based learning and dual immersion and IB, the test results will follow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Barber.
Thank you.
Great presentation.
Appreciate it.
All right. Now, item 11. And that particular agenda item is our curriculum report presented by Ms. Patty McLean. And Patty is going to present on Common Core state standards.
Okay, good evening, and I just agree with Dr. Barber and some of this, all that we're learning more and more and more about brain research is contributions of music to learning, the contributions of art, visual art to learning, the contributions of second language learning on first language learning. So these are not new. It's just the teachers have been focused on it because that's what we've been doing. Okay, Common Core State Standards timeline. I think some of us are aware that, oh, we've got a typo here. September 2013 is full implementation. Yeah, we're in a hurry, but not that big a hurry. Okay, full implementation of Common Core State Standards in English Language Arts, mathematics, literacy in history and social studies, science, and technical subjects. The Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium in spring of 2014 will have our first pilot, and in spring of 2015, accountability for the outcomes. I think it's interesting that certainly we question whether or not the new Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium called the SBAC, if that isn't going to be something where kids will be more college prepared than the ISAT will make them college prepared. Okay, as you know from a presentation last spring, the SBAC and ISAT are significantly different. The major difference is this thing we called depth of knowledge, or is referred to as DOK, just more acronyms, and that is the increasing levels of complexity of questions. Right now, the recall and reproduction or recognition, multiple choice is not even recall, it's just recognition. Ooh, that's the right one. So it's a very low level. About 80% of them for ISATs, it's not going to be like that anymore. Skill and concept, we have about maybe as much as 20% in the ISAT. That will be no more. There is no strategic thinking in the ISAT, and there is no extended thinking in the ISAT. I think some of you are aware that there's this whole idea of consortium is that they are bringing funding across the nation and putting it together, and that's why these tests can be better, more challenging tests, and rather than every individual state having to come up with their own X million dollars for this thing. So it's, how's that? Okay. There are a lot of things that are going on in the district and that have been going on in the district for a long time that help us feel prepared. We won't know till we get there probably, but certainly the strategic goal number 2, a rigorous curriculum. We've said we are setting ourselves in that direction, and this should help. Teacher supportive training. We've had lots and lots of mathematical thinking initiative training. We have hired Carla Scanlon to help with the K-5 in this area, the International Baccalaureate Middle Years Program. We've hired Dr. Jane Walther for that, and she's supporting that. An administrative focus on instructional rounds and the instructional core. The instructional core, for those of you who are new to us, is the dynamic between what a teacher is saying and doing, what a student is saying and doing, and the content. The content matters, and the level of the task that's given the student matters. Teacher collaboration days, these are contributing. The late starts at the high school, all of these things will help us in the Common Core. Curriculum mapping. We already have quite a lot of work done in terms of not electronic, but in terms of in a table through grades 6 through 10. The SunGuard assessment, we're going to have an assessment when we get it up and running. By the way, just the SunGuard large problem, I think many of you are aware, is what data was in Skyward for us was not, in fact, there to mine. And so we have taken steps, and that should be really ready to go soon. Our first focus for the mapping is math and dual immersion. The dual immersion meaning the Spanish side of language. The adoption process and practices for adoption of instructional materials has helped. We have kept a consistent eye, even at the beginning of school last year, before the state adopted the Common Core state standards. We had a good feeling that the state was going in that direction, and so we kept looking at materials with an eye on Common Core state standards, this increased rigor, and the kind of extended and strategic thinking that is going to be asked in those SBAC assessments. On March 15th, we spent some time looking at some input from principals. We distributed and worked in groups about different ideas, and you'll see some ideas about what they had for input. March 16th, 8 teachers, we had 8 teachers and administrators went to Twin Falls for a one-day workshop that was focused only on mathematics and how it relates to Common Core state standards. I think it was gratifying to us that we have had a lot of work with Dr. Brendifer. We've had work with Michelle Carney, soon to be Dr. Carney, and so we have been very fortunate. Part of always the question is, where can we get time? Where can we? Lots of places. What will we do? We haven't decided that, but we've thought about some things. Some of these ideas are ideas that came out of our March 15th meeting. Other ideas are just standard, across-the-nation ways in which people get time to deliver professional development to their teachers. And nothing too new there. What did administrators, our own administrators, have to say in their different groups? Everyone was given a different question, and so these are a lot of questions and trying to look at common threads, common commentary, and these were from written notes. So focusing on existing proficiencies. Teachers are very exhausted thinking there's one more new thing. This one more new thing isn't something we put on their plate, but it's also that it really is makes sense with a lot of other things that we're doing that I mentioned, and if we communicate in a way and say, here are the things we're already doing. It's hard to convince people sometimes of those things, but they really are genuine ways to look at it. And so looking at what teachers already can do and the incredible capacity we have here. We need to have lots of discussions with the teachers. And again, how are we going to find and make the time in buildings and as a district? Staying on point, staying on message, and this is an ongoing topic. Okay? We all recognize a need for significant professional development. We need it ourselves as administrators, going through 2 manuals, 2 big notebooks of Common Core is a little bit tedious, but sometimes it's very exciting if you look at it and you think about what some of this history looks like, and when you say, what are students doing with this literary text, is exciting. It's exciting if you're a science or social studies teacher to think that those subjects are not just bleeding into, but are actually a central part of what the English part of teaching does in K-5. We had a discussion in science today. Where are we getting? Well, if we're increasing the nonfiction, we don't have to say the only time I can read science is when I'm in my science time, that those things will be shifting and migrating in new places. And so that will be different for teachers. It's a process. Communicating expectations to the public. Coming up with a school plan. That's some of the stuff that we have yet to talk about as administrators. Or what do you think? What do our principals think teachers need? Are we already there? Are we almost there? Are we fully there? Are we way off? And so given those answers, when we come and wrestle with those questions, we'll have a better idea of what our district plan and school plans should be. And of course, they should be working together. Okay, it is the job of the principals, as they said, to make sure that those, that they are in fact being implemented. It's just like the math curriculum. It's the responsibility of the principals. We need to be making frequent reference to the overlapping things that are already there. Again, that it's not something totally new, but it's the Idaho State Standards. There's a lot of commonality, but where is it different? And we will do, like we did in math, a gap analysis. What's different? The mathematical thinking, those things. National subject matter standards. People have been looking to math standards and foreign language standards and English standards for years, and so they know a lot. They're familiar, and they're successful in implementing them. And teachers will have additional and more rigorous expectations to learn and to teach. Thank you. Was that 7 minutes, Brad? Any questions of the board?
Thanks, Pat.
Yeah.
Catherine?
Patty, I have one question. This is just the first time I'd heard this, the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. What is that?
Actually, last year, you probably heard it too, because it was on my PowerPoint, but
I
we
don't
call it the
remember.
SBAC, that's all right. That SBAC, or the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, is one of 2 consortia that are out there nationally, and some states are in 2 different consortia, but Idaho is in one, and the one we chose to be in is the SBAC, which is led by Washington State, in fact, and so this test, they're working on developing this test, which will be a computer implemented test and computers, so it'll level itself for questions, but it will also, this will be the interesting thing, where does technology actually meet that place where teachers, when you ask a difficult question, students have to think and write about it intelligently. That's the only way we've been doing it. Now they say that they think they can do it through a computer. So they're really working on that, and where they are about that, I don't know.
So they're coming up with tests for each grade level in the different subject, this SBAC is?
Yes, it replaces the ISAT reading.
Okay, so this is replacing the ISAT.
Thank you.
Okay.
It replaces it in reading and in math, but not science, because it's literacy in the scientific subjects. It's literacy in history, but it's not.
Okay, so
history
now
com-
kids will be taking the SBAC.
No.
That's-
Instead, yes.
Well, may I?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, to go to your point, there are 40-some states now that are part of the Common Core state standards. The Smarter Balance is, I think, 26 or 28 states that have come together. The original reason they came together was to pool their resource, so that when they're writing test banks, I mean, they're very expensive to write. Especially, I mean, what I can say around what Ms. McLean just said is, this is going to become the ISAT. This test will become the ISAT. But thank goodness it's evolving from what I just showed you. I mean, because it's, although there is going to be standardized, this takes away most of the rote stuff in favor of thinking. Now, I'll tell you why they got together as a consortium is because they're actually using artificial intelligence, because a lot of that test is now going to be writing, and there's no way to grade that except through this thing that they're developing. And when they brought these 26 states together, they actually had the resource to write these tests. They will be, it's actually a good thing, because here's, not only does Common Core state standards level the playing field with standards across the United States, what it really does, especially with the SMART consortium, is we will be giving tests that are built out of the same banks. So now there's relevance to how are we doing compared to not just Idaho, the stuff I showed you, but to all of these states. So, there was reason behind it, and the reason, and it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just didn't understand what it was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman? Also, the states are driven by progression. In other words, if you answer a question right, it will take you one direction. If you do one wrong, it will take you another direction, so that it'll let you keep advancing through the test based on your knowledge base and your ability to cognitively think and problem solve. So it's much more in depth. And like Lonnie said, rote skill is pretty easy to write and to grade, multiple choice, scan sheet kind of stuff. This is much more complicated, and that's why those states are coming together in a consortium to pool their money to write one test. And you also have common testing across states. So now if someone comes to us from Washington, which is now a WASL, we don't know how that equates to the ISAT. But now we will have the same assessment that we can move straight over to us, and it means the same thing.
Makes sense.
Okay. I have a question.
Yes. Thank you, Patty.
So you say that September 13, will roll into full implementation.
That means that we should be beginning those standards so that when we write lesson plans and unit plans, it would be Common Core. The good thing is that most of the mapping that's been done, 610, has been taking that. That's what they've been using, so that's a good thing, too.
Yeah, and that's my question. I think you may have answered the question. So how will it look? When will our students, be in our facilities taking the Common Core assessment?
The pilot will be spring of 2014.
Okay.
And we don't know yet whether or not the whole state will be doing it as a pilot, or some people. Certainly my hand will go up, because I think it's to our benefit to take it and get feedback, and for us to kind of kids to feel the difference or whatever. But we just don't know how that process, about who, how many, what will we get out of it, but it would be, beneficial to us to be in part of that pilot.
So the pilot is a state goal or our goal?
That's the
district?
state.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
right. There, so who's involved, I don't know. And then the following year, everybody's in and everybody's accountable. So this is a very difficult transition for teachers who've got pay for performance and want right answers and recall and recognition and that kind of ISAT testing, and shifting over to something that is going to be asking for something else. I mean, I think both students and teachers are kind of caught in the middle of that, but it is a transition, and I think if we wrap our head around more about what Dr. Barber said, is it's less about are we first or second or third, it's about preparing our children, and as one of them said, it's a process.
And when does the ISAT, when do you anticipate the ISAT dropping off the radar
Well,
screen?
as far as I understand it, it will drop off in 2014.
Okay.
Sorry,
All right.
2015.
Yeah,
And what
that is
they
the
do-
replacement date.
Uh-huh.
So the pilot, I don't think the whole state's going to pilot. I've actually raised my hand. I've talked to the State Department. We would like to be part of that. We get a year. We don't know how it's going to work. But in 2015, which is actually only 2 years from next year, so we're in 2012-13 coming up in the fall, all students, that will be the new ISAT for every student.
2014 or 15?
2015.
So our
And the
kids in
pilot-
2014 could possibly wind up taking
Yeah,
two
and we
assessments?
actually want to do that. We actually would like to get a head start on it. And, Chairman Guthrie, we are preparing in Blaine County. Here's the good news. The math initiative that all of our teachers went through, that almost all other districts had to send a representative to, all of our teachers got it. That's going to this. The 21st century skills, the IB, we have 8 core areas in that. It is preparing us for success. The new math adoption, which is more conceptual, the math is going to be more conceptual. We're trying to prepare ourselves. And I think the good news is, I think all districts want to be prepared, but I really don't believe that there are any that are too much further out there at this time than we are to prepare for that.
So my question is, in 2014, will our kids wind up taking
If we're
an
chosen,
ISAT
if we're
and a-
chosen to be part of the pilot, they will take the new test.
The pilot includes
the
all of our
Smarter
kids.
Consortium developed
We
test.
don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
We don't know
Actually,
yet.
Some of our kids, some grade levels, all of them, yet to be determined.
Okay, jumping ahead of the game.
No, we're eager to know too.
Yeah, we are.
We just don't have an answer.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if you want more information, I've got always a handout.
Next on the agenda is my board chair report for the month. And item A is our Board of Trustees self-assessment. Each of you should have a envelope in your packet, and that is the board assessment. And I lost my train here. There we go. So that is something that we do annually, and it is very helpful. Lori, I don't see the deadline on this. When did we decide the deadline?
If you could fill those out and get,
May 2nd, Paul? Okay.
May 2nd.
Thank
If
you,
you can
Paul.
get them back to me by then, I'll tally results, get them back to you, and you can discuss them in open session at the May
Yeah.
board meeting.
So during the May meeting, we'll discuss the results. And it's always helpful, that assessment always comes in helpful when we have our board retreat. And it's a very useful tool. So I encourage all of us to complete that and get it in, I guess, by May 2nd. Thank you.
Oh, Chairman
Yep.
Guthrie, if you would prefer to fill it out electronically, I have that, just let me know. And it's confidential.
Thanks, Lauren. And next, I do want to announce that the board will participate or attend the National School Boards Association Annual Conference in Boston this year. I'm going to have to go to my, well, correct me if I'm wrong, Lori, but I believe it's myself, Vice Chair Nerge, and Trustee Binion from the board that will attend. In addition are Dr. Barber, John, I think John's attending, and Lori. And, okay, so that's our team. And you know, these conferences are very, very, very helpful and productive. And this is we've come back year after year with initiatives that we've learned specifically from these national conferences. The national conference is a very large event where we can meet up with fellow board members, and Lonnie can meet up with his peer groups. You know, a lot of what we're doing now has come from these national events. For instance, our 21st Century Skills initiatives, the workshops that we now have once a month. In many ways, how we structure our agenda and how we structure our discussions came from these national events. So they are very, very productive. And I will, or all of us will, give the public a rundown on what was achieved during that meeting, during that session. And then, this will be an exciting evening. I would like to invite our entire community to the Wood River High School Performing Arts Theater grand opening. And that is scheduled for April 25th. 5:30 will be the community campus open house with tours and refreshments. 6:30 the theater doors open, and at 7 o'clock we'll have the ribbon cutting ceremony. Now, I believe, when did we have performances? Is that at 6:30?
It's at the ribbon cutting.
At the ribbon cutting?
Yeah, so
afterwards?
Yes, just
Okay.
following the ribbon cutting, and we'll have all three, we'll have band, orchestra, choir from the high school, and also a short one act of a play from the drama department. So the people who will be using that will be each giving 15 or 20 minutes performance, which I think is appropriate.
Great. I'm excited and really can't wait for this. I have purposely stayed out of the remodel. I was in for about 6 or 8 weeks ago, but I'm saving up for the final event here for the opening. We will have a special meeting workshop. It is scheduled for April 26th at 12 o'clock. The subject matter of that meeting is still to be determined. Once we've decided on that, we'll post that to the website, and we'll make sure that's made available to the public. And as a reminder, our regular May board meeting is scheduled for May 8th, 2012, right here at 6 o'clock. And that concludes my chair report. Next on the agenda is permission to issue requests for proposals for design-build contracts for safety and security. And Mike Jatterton will present on this subject.
Okay, I see I have an hour.
Wait, no,
I don't
no,
intend
no,
to
no,
use
no.
it.
I was looking at that too, actually.
I don't intend to use
You
it.
two's are right.
Well, he does have an hour.
Got a lot of questions.
Okay.
All right. Really, nothing has changed since our workshop session that we had last week. So my thought was on the design build. You know, I sent you a typical design build RFP that we were looking at sending out for the Cary School projects. But I think talking to the team that we put together to discuss these RFPs, I think the best thing to do is to form a committee, interview the design build teams, and then look at all of the projects we have and see which team fits which project the best and try to split the work out amongst as many contractors in the valley as we can. And I'm thinking probably 4 architectural and design build teams throughout the county. will be selected for this. So that's our thought on how we're going to move forward with this. The work will start with the middle school and the high school right after we get out of school, and it'll progress probably through, I'd say, October, November. And still, Hemingway, we're going to look at that and really let the architects and builders determine whether or not they think that that can be accomplished over the summertime, or if it's better suited for next summer during the heating, ventilation remodel at Hemingway. So that's where we're at with that. What kind of questions can I answer for you?
You're saying that you expect to interview as many as 4 design-build folks, or do you want to spread the work out amongst the 4?
I would think we would interview probably 5 or 6 teams and hire 4.
Okay, all right. Catherine?
So I'm just, since we just got this in our packet, I'm just looking at this. So the middle school entry total for the remodel is 16,100 plus the possible 8? Or am I looking at the wrong number?
No, it's a total of both of those. I think it was closer to the 25,000.
So 16 plus the 8, so about $25,000.
Yes.
So that's considerably less than the
Considerably less than the budget.
$75,000.
That does not include the electrification of the doors, as well as the card readers that would be installed on that
Right,
as
and
well. So
that would be an extra 8. And then the 28 for the high school.
the high school, I think, was closer to 16.
Am I getting them wrong? Oh, no.
Last page, the high school.
Oh, I'm looking. Oh.
Yeah, 15,242 for the high school.
Oh, I see.
Plus
Okay.
the cost of the access controls and
Right, and another 8.
and electrification.
Well, that's great. And so this is just a sample. This is just an example of a.
It was a projected budget
Projected
that
from-
Mr. Dan Young Construction Company put together for us and Michael Doty. Does not include the architectural fees that we paid to date either with those costs. But that's not a huge number either, so it will be quite a bit less.
than the
Half, I would
projected
say,
cost.
at least half.
Are the architectural members, when Doty's worked for us, is he usually working as a percentage of the cost of the project? Or is he on basically a time plus?
He's been, since we've hired him a year
Doing
ago
all
now,
kinds of
it's on an
things.
hourly rate.
Okay, yeah, because he's all over the place.
Right.
So, Mike, just again on the timeline for the other projects, say at Hemingway, Bellevue Haley with the cameras and the doors, you had said at the last meeting you're going to be coming back to us, you're thinking in the next month with those quotes or bids.
It won't be within the next month because some of that work is not going to happen until later summer. So
Okay.
my guess is it's probably going to be July, August, when we'll come back with those proposals for those contracts with each one of those individual companies on those teams on what those projects are going to cost.
Okay.
Yeah, to try to put that much work into that short of a period of time on that many buildings, I think it's going to be really taxing to our local camera contractor that's going to be doing most of this work. So that's where we're trying to spread it out a little bit to where he's not rushed and we have complications.
So you were talking about phasing then, and maybe even into next year?
I don't think it'll go into next fiscal year, but I think it'll probably stretch into next school year, like
Mhm.
September, October, is when
Okay.
they'll be finished up. Yeah. I don't anticipate each one of these buildings take a long time to do the work. I think probably 2 or 3 weeks per building to be able to do all of the stuff.
Because I think you've mentioned the infrastructure is there.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
In a majority of the buildings, the infrastructure's already there.
So tonight you're looking for action from the board to provide you with permission to pursue
The request for proposals for the
Mhm.
design-build
Yeah.
teams.
Okay. No other questions? So go ahead and ask for the motion to issue a request, give staff permission to issue requests for proposals for design-build contractors for the safety and security projects.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Sean. Further discussion? Paul?
You've shown us these plans for the middle school and high school. Is that included in what we're doing tonight?
Yes.
It is, so this is, okay.
Yep. The only difference between all of the schools other than the middle school and the high school is we already have that team selected for the middle school, high school. It would be Michael Doty
And we're
Associates
approving this team.
and Dan Young.
As part of this, we're both approving Doty and Young as a design-build team and approving the request for proposals from the others? Are we doing that, both of those right now?
No. The only thing you're giving me permission to is issue the request for proposals for the rest of the projects. This team was picked a year ago when we did the Bellevue addition and the maintenance facility addition.
Because we picked Doty as the
Because we picked
architect.
Doty at that time. Yes.
Okay, that seems like, kind of like a separate action, because we picked Doty as our architect, and now we have a design-build team. We don't have just an architect. I mean, it seems like that should be a separate item for
No,
approval.
soon as we get the actual prices, what those contracts are going to cost, we'll
Okay.
come back to you and say.
Okay, so we're not approving those contracts to move forward?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay,
No.
okay.
No.
Thank you.
No, the only thing you're giving me is permission is to issue the RFP. We'll come back later and you'll get permission to award those contracts to those teams, all of the teams.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay. Further discussion? Okay. No additional discussion. I will ask now for I'll just ask for a vote. All in favor, please?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Mike, you've got board's permission to pursue that endeavor.
Okay. The next item is Cary site. We also went over this item in our workshop session last week. Really, nothing has changed. We're slated to be on the county commissioners' schedule on April 16th, and that would be to talk about whether or not the county commissioners are going to sell the land adjacent to Cary, gift the land to us, or some other arrangement that they have worked out with them. We had an appraisal on it. The appraisal came back between $15,000 and $20,000 on the cost of those lots that the county owns. So we'll work on that. We also have a meeting at the City of Cary, Planning and Zoning, on the 23rd to get approval, to start moving through that approval process to get everything in place to start construction as soon as school's out. So things will happen pretty quick between now and first part of June. The concerns that I've heard from the contractors is there's not a lot of time between the approval of the team that will happen in May and actually coming to you for board approval for the actual contract before school gets out. We may have to look at setting up some type of a special board meeting late May to approve that contract for that team so they can get things going.
And we may even be able to take care of that at our work session.
Yeah, the contractors that have looked at it so far feel like that the schedule is not going to be as pushed as we thought it was going to be. So they feel very comfortable that they'll have that site completion done by, 2 weeks before school starts. So that's a good thing. We were kind of worried about that. And there's a lot of interest out there, so I think we're going to have some good competitive prices and bids.
You don't foresee any major issues or stalls on April 16th?
No.
Uh-huh.
I don't think so. No, just talking with the county commissioners and Mr. Graves, I don't see any issues coming up.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? Paul?
Is is the understanding at this point that the county is going to work a deal with us on that piece?
Yeah, they've indicated to us that they will. They will
So, I
work
mean,
some
it
kind of a
seems-
solution for that.
It seems cost-wise, it seems,
Yeah.
that little piece seems pretty essential to creating a quality situation.
It is. I mean, we've been utilizing that piece of ground
Or
from
being
the
able to
county
build
for
on
10
it,
years
so-
or 20 years. so-
Yeah, but being able to, you know.
Yeah.
use
Improve
it,
the aesthetics.
Curb it, put curbs on it, that'd be novel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sidewalks.
Whoa.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. So at this point in time, I would ask the board, I would ask for a motion to allow staff permission to issue requests for proposals for design-build contracts for the City of Cary site improvements. I'm sorry, for the Cary site improvements.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Steve? I have one other thing that I forgot to mention. We've set a team together to actually interview the teams, and that will happen, I think we decided the 26th of April. And Mr. Benyon is going to be, Trustee Benyon is going to be on that committee representing the board. Howard Royal, myself, John Gaddert, Kelly Bizzuto will be doing the interviews. John Gaddert. And then we'll come back to you with a recommendation at the May.
All in favor, please?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Okay. The board has approved the motion to give staff permission to issue a request for proposal for the design-build contracts for Cary site improvements. Mike, you're still on. The Residential Construction Academy Program update.
We got 45 minutes. We can talk about this a long time. Okay, we talked about the Construction Academy program back in, I think it was November, December of this year. The board asked me to come forward with some ideas of where the programs come, cost of the housing, how many students are involved with the programs, and that's what I've done here. You know, we're on our fifth house in Cary, just completing our fifth house in Cary. We still have 2 houses in Cary that we have not sold, so this will be the third house. We're just finishing up our second house in Haley for the Wood River High School program. The first house in Haley sold, it was only on the market for like 11 days, and it was 2 years ago, so it was right at about a year into the economy of when the housing prices were spiraling down. So I think if the design of the house was such that, you know, we didn't have a hard time selling that house. And I feel like this second house that the high school was designed is equally designed. I don't anticipate a lot of issues on selling the house, but, you know, whether or not we're going to break even, that's a whole other story. None of these sites that we've been buying for the last few years, we've put a lot of money into the sites. So I mean, we're buying the sites for reasonably cheap. It's just that, you know, when you can buy a foreclosure market house at $50 a square foot on the property, you know, it's hard to build a house at $100 a square foot and get $100 a square foot out of it. So those are the kind of the issues that we're facing with the Construction Academy. So I wanted to bring this back to the board so we could open up a dialogue. We have both the principals here to talk about these programs and see where we want to go.
Well, you know, it's in this situation, it's more than just the cost of materials and land. I mean, we're getting an educational value out of it too, Mike. So, I mean, that's something that we should consider. Although, I mean, I'm looking at student participation rates too. You know, and there's been a substantial decline over the past years. Maybe Ms. Jervich can comment on that if there's any specific reason, or maybe you don't know. I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Not necessarily give you a clear answer. I would maybe ask Mr. Nelson, who oversees the PTE program, Maybe has a little bit more insight than I do. Obviously, the economy has not helped, so we don't have necessarily the market at this point to maybe help us get a fair price for a house being built in today's market. But any ideas, Mr. Nelson?
Well, we saw a decline in our number of students, and those numbers that you see up there are actually double counted because we block second and third period together. But so that's kind of that's the way enrollment for or attendance is taken for second and third period. But that's how that's counted. That's just the way it works. But so there's not actually that many students. You could take second and third period and take maybe about 14 students off that one. But we have a group of 6 or 8 in the first block, and then they have a group that go out and actually work on the house. So we have a group of beginners, a group of second and third year students that are going out, and they're learning the trade. I think part of the problem is there's no jobs out there for the students to internship during the summer, and we used to be able to place them. When I first started 2007, 2008, we could actually place those students on jobs, and now we can't. There are no jobs for those students, and I think the students realize that. In addition to that, Mr. Walsh went halftime. I think he kind of see that it's time for him to slow down a little bit. He's got another more to do as well outside of school. So he went halftime as well. And he's a great instructor. He teaches those students a lot, and I think this was a new challenge for him is to actually build a house, and he enjoyed doing it. So now he's kind of the general contractor for those students, but the students are getting a lot of different experiences, but there's nowhere to apply them in the valley. So when the students leave, if they go to Twin or they go to Boise, that's where possibly they might see some job opportunities. In fact, this year we had to go all the way to Coeur d'Alene to get the the residential construction program credited with the Professional Technical Education Department, because there's only one community college or two-year college left in the state that has a construction program. CSI already dropped their program. So if they drop their program, residential construction won't even have an articulation to work with anymore. So we're good for another year on that, and that's not anything we can do anything about. It's just the economy is not the greatest at this point for building new homes.
Wow, that's an eye-opener. Thank you. Dr. Barber.
I did want to just add one thing as I looked at this, and I knew this, but I didn't get the numbers exactly right. Of the 3 that we've sold, we made money on the first 2, and on the third one, we did not pay for the cost of the construction. But of the 3 we've sold, we're actually still good in the construction of those by $29,000. We do have 2 houses that the board decided to continue to rent because we don't want to sell them at a loss. If this last house goes up for sale and we spent $250 on it, if we got $220 out of it, we would actually still be even on what we spent for the houses, not including the 2 that are being rented that we decided we would rent, try to pay the mortgage on, or try to pay the district back the money until the market improves. So I think that's the good news. I mean, the bad news is we have some decreasing enrollment, and the housing market is still soft. So I was just talking to actually Mr. Peck yesterday. Yesterday I was out at Karam's, and one of the things that we're having discussions about, they are finishing a house they've been working on for 2 years, but to look at doing some in the interim, I mean, when that house is finished, not start another house right now. For instance, they just done a lot of work, volunteer work, down in front of their stands at the football field where they replaced gravel with pavers, all volunteered. And we were talking about things like building the concession stand. They need a concession stand out there. And that these students could, which, the material cost could be a few $1,000s, but it could still, the principles are still there. And so looking at doing some of that stuff while our market hopefully recovers a little bit.
That's a great idea,
Yeah.
I think. Maybe we can utilize that in some internal projects or even some community-based projects.
Well, and I think there's some other reasons for that decrease. I think graduation requirements will definitely affect that. As the graduation requirements go up, the students have less choices. And so that'll affect that enrollment there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we would always have an influx of sophomores that would go third try and be a part of that, and we have only 11 sophomores. And so with that small class, there's not going to be as many in there. So there's some other reasons in there too that may be a factor in why that number's what it is now.
Very difficult right now to justify building homes when existing homes are so inexpensive. It's just
Well, and
it's
the
hard
other
to say.
the other thing, if I could, I'd like to point out we have a lot of students that went into construction management from those years up there, 07, 08, 09. There, and they should have gone into construction management and graduated construction management from that program.
That's great information.
Did they have jobs? Did they have jobs?
Yeah, I think. I think
A
some
couple
of them.
of them do.
Yeah.
Keith, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a comment. When we first started with Mike in the residential construction, he was working inside of the shop and did a great job. He built a lot of sheds. A lot of the sheds you see around Haley and Ketchum and Bellevue were built by his crew, so they would build them on site. He kept the crew busy. Plus, he also worked inside. So if we decided not to build a new house, there's only a certain window of time when those guys can actually get out. I mean, I've been out in the construction site when it's been 15 degrees, and it's cold when they're first starting a house. But inside of his shop, he and I'm sure Carrie also, they have the opportunity to do some projects and learn a lot of the trades. They actually build a mini house inside of the shop, which is kind of nice too. He'll bring electrical contractors in and sheetrockers. So it's not like they're wasting their time. They're just not out putting a house together. I know the kids are excited about it, and there's a few what we call completers or concentrators that actually have stuck with it for the 3 years. But what are they going to do when they get out? They're going to go into college and use those skills for their own honey-do lists, I'm pretty sure, for now.
Or
We did
maybe
build
a way
that-
to get them through college.
You know, the construction academy at the high school did build that bus, you know, the bus stop right across kitty corner from us. That was built.
Yeah.
Oh, the cart stop.
Yeah, and I think there are some opportunities. You know, I guess what I would hope for, and I think Mr. Chatterton is on the same page, is that we look for real life opportunities. They just may not be for a while, you know,
May not
full-blown
be
homes.
full
Maybe there's
houses,
something
yeah.
else. I think what I don't want to do is move back to inside the shop, having the students build something that's pretty artificial and then tear it down, and so there's no, but building sheds, storage sheds, those kind of things that actually translate to real world, we certainly want to look for those opportunities.
Mike, then Howard.
Yeah, we do have a couple of projects in mind for the Construction Academy program to take a look at within the school district that would benefit the high school itself. When we were looking at the auditorium, the remodel of the auditorium, there's a real need within the program for the performing arts for storage, costume storage and prop storage and that type of stuff. And we looked at taking that wall would be on the west side of the hallway wall going out to the high school and encroaching into the construction academy about 10 feet and then putting kind of closet partition doors on the outside into the hallway and using that for storage for the props and things for the performing arts theater. That would be a great project for that program to take on. I know that there's a need at the high school underneath the bleachers for storage for a lot of their track program items. You know, and that's a project that they could take a look at and accomplish. I know the stuff at the middle school. I mean, we've been talking about a concession stand, announcer's booth, and that kind of stuff out at the field at the middle school for a couple of years now and have never done that. So, I mean, we do have programs that those kids could work on.
Yeah.
Al?
I'll just pretty much reiterate what Mike just said, that there are a lot of opportunities within the district, but also there was a success story that we had 3 or 4 years ago now. The residential construction group during the summer actually framed the entire inside of the technology where Tech is located now. That was all framed by 2 students that came through the residential academy. And they did a great job. Greg Urbany was on site, and you know, he kind of helped them through it. But they literally drove every nail on the framing, framed every door, and did a great job.
Thank you. Well, it seems it's a very valuable, productive program. And if we can retain it and even grow it with some of the suggestions that you've made, Mike and Lonnie and other folks, I think that's for the short term anyway, is probably a direction that we should go in lieu of building homes. Don?
Yeah, Steve, I was just going to kind of agree with that and say that it sounds like everyone's supportive of the program and what its goals are and what it's giving to our students. And I think this is a good example of the district adapting a program which may not be working the way we want it right now to make it work. And I think with going into these projects is going to work way better than, just continuing to build houses and hope for the best. So, and I think it's great you brought this forward, Mike, to us.
So, Mike, I don't think, you're not looking for any action, just up for discussion, and I think from what I hear, you guys have got
Just looking for
a
direction.
handle on it, yeah.
I guess I would also support this direction of moving forward with a lot of the projects that you mentioned. And I agree with everything else.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mike. You still have half an hour, if you'd like to.
Yeah.
No? All right. All right, at this time, I would ask, are there any public comments, please? Ms. Thomas? Sherry, Sherry, would you mind coming up here, please?
If the board wants to know more about the Common Core state standards, the corestandards.org website has amazing information. It also gives a specific as to all of those things within that. At this time, I just wanted to point, I was a little concerned because Blaine County School District supportive teacher training didn't include dual immersion teachers, which I'm hoping that will continue. That teacher training for DI teachers is going to be a part of the Blaine County School District's mode of addendum. And also, when you're adopting any kind of materials, whatever they're going to do, I know that reading for the core common standards is pretty serious with having to be scientific or having to be materials that aren't like fun reading. So I don't know how AR reading program's going to work with that either. But I also want to remind, because I love these goals that you guys had, the board goals that you guys stressed here, which were, to me, quite amazing. And I know that even in here you say that the ISATs are not a set all standard. But that being said, it would be interesting to really pay attention to what actually is big business in education. So just as you look at things like Mike Chatterton looks at how much something's going to cost and how that's going to proceed in the course of that program, that you guys start to look at all those things. It's kind of scary for me because I look at the middle years program not only having an annual fee, but we have a $639 per subject as well as $62 per student fee and an evaluation fee every 5 years, and then the other fees on top of that for teacher training, staffing, publications, special facilities they require, and things in those facilities. So overall, when we look at these Common Core standards that we're going to be implementing, it would be good to implement what is going to be our best cost analysis as well. And I know that in your goals you've always stated that, and I really appreciate all the things you're doing for patron input, and I really look forward to that town hall meeting. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Additional comment? Okay. At this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Board.